Rolling. Speed.
Scene 43. Shot 1, take 3.
Action.
The whole experience really was kind of like a film race project, like, you know, a 48-hour film race or a 100-hour film race, whatever. It was just go, go, go.
There's a lot of cast and crews out there that I work with I don't think could have handled the pressure.
Open the door. Cut.
This isn't gonna go as planned it was in my head. Like, this isn't gonna go down exactly the way I thought.
I think after a few days, whenever anyone new would come, I would say, welcome to the nut house, because it was just nutty.
Holy crap, we've got a game changer. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen with the rest of my semester, so.
Behind the scenes at Cheery Point, what's happened today?
I get to shoot people.
Yeah.
You know, oh, 21-hour days, and oh, it's fine. It's, you know, we'll do it for Kenny and for everybody else.
About 18 hours of already working. Kenny shows up with like 6 24-packs of Mountain Dew, and he's like, "Yo, guys, he's like, drink up."
I was selling plasma to buy groceries at the end for myself.
You honestly said that. Just because somebody says you can't do it, it doesn't mean you can't. It means you totally can. You're just gonna have to find a way to do it.
So Cheery Point, when it all comes down to it, is a film about the necessity of pain. It's a film that deals with the consequences of living in a society where everything's perfect, and yet at the same time, when everything is perfect, everything kind of crumbles.
We were at his house, and he was talking about, he was writing the script, and he had this idea, essentially, for a feature film. And I had never done a feature film before. I was still pretty thrilled and floored by the fact that I was able to direct something this soon in my college experience. And so he was like, a feature film. I'm like, okay, 2-hour film? How's this possible? And knowing Kenny, though, I didn't really doubt it.
Some of the first people that really jumped on board, I gotta give it to Adam Bailey. He was very adamant. I don't think he necessarily knew how we were gonna do it. I mean, hell, I didn't even know how we were gonna do a lot of it.
I had been involved in Versa for a little while before then, mostly just doing, you know, assistant directorship or some other thing on the side. He approached me with the idea, and he knew that I liked to write, and so he also asked me to help out with the script.
But we would have to have rendezvous. It was like a ritual for that month and a half. So much would blend together. We'd wake up and we'd say, "Is it really already Friday?" Because every night we were either at the IHOP or the McDonald's, staying up, typing, writing. I mean, it was really kind of crazy how much we did.
I would say it was stressful at the same time. With all that stress came a lot of fun. It was exhilarating because, you know, when you're under that much pressure, it can almost be stressful at the same time you're just writing whatever scene comes to mind.
You know, Allie was in Louisville, James is in Indianapolis, Adam and I are full course loads or, you know, whatever it might be here in Muncie, but we did it.
I got involved in Cheery Point through working with Versa Studios, which was essentially a group started by Kenny Stevenson when I was a freshman at Ball State University. And we made short films, nothing too serious.
He just came to me one day, he's like, "Blake, I've got this really crazy idea. I want to do a feature length. Do you think you could score it?" And I mean, I guess I was just being stupid. I was like, "Yeah, sure, of course I could do that." I didn't even think about what the implications were of writing, you know, over 2 hours of music.
So you can understand why the people in the company, the cast and crew, were a little skeptical when it came to me telling them, "Oh, we're gonna make a full-length movie."
They'd already been well into production, and I think the first thing of the meeting, besides just introducing ourselves, that Kenny Stevenson said, the first thing that came out of his mouth was, "All right, guys, so I talked to the guy with the hot air balloon to get the aerial shots, and I think it might be a little too expensive, a little too much for our budget." And I was just kind of quietly like, "What the hell? What is this that's going on?" So I had no idea what was to come.
Tommy Martin saw a short film that I had helped on called Submerged, and he contacted us originally for that and said, "Hey, you know, this is really good for a short film. I want to work with you guys." So Kenny and I casted him on Pianissimo.
So then I ended up doing that first and got to know everybody, meet most of the crew. And then the whole time we were filming that, he kept pitching me on this tour pace movie. In between scenes, he kept pulling me aside and be like, oh yeah, well, Joshua Barrett and this and that and the other. And Andrew's like, Kenny, stop stealing my actor. You know, we gotta focus on what we're filming.
I knew when I saw Tommy that this was a guy that would go out on a limb and take a chance with me. And I knew that if we were gonna make this happen, we needed a lead that would be willing to sacrifice a lot. And at the same time, we could count on him. And that talent was important, but it had to be matched by persistence and a loyalty there.
And they were having a Skype discussion one day. And I was at home kind of in the background, lying down in our bed. And Kenny at one point said, oh, sorry, is someone back there? I don't want to interrupt. And Tommy said, oh, that's my girlfriend, she lives here. And then he kind of said, she's an actor too. And that kind of just transcended into me being brought into this Skype meeting with Kenny and Adam.
And so I went to indianaactors.com and just kind of browsed through all the files and images and people who were there and just kind of looked for resumes of people who actually had experience or some experience and also who looked the part.
Adam and I searched through there, and while we're still writing, granted, like I explained, a couple hours a night, we would both separately on our computers peruse the directory. I like the way this actor looks, I like the characteristics this has.
I sent out a massive email of to 90 people asking for these different roles and what I'm kind of looking for. And I got responses back from probably about 20 of them.
I had no idea who he was. And quite honestly, I thought it was a scam. I'm like, nobody emails you out of the blue for something like this. So I was like, I'll respond and see what happens, and hopefully my filters are good on my computer.
So I call Mark, and Mark, it's so funny, I remember Mark put up this little this little stance like, who is this? He acted completely different from when I met him. Just very official. I thought the guy had won 3 Emmys by the time I was done with the conversation with him because he just seemed that legit. I mean, it was a great acting on the phone.
Our cast is probably the one thing to me that is the most just fascinating in terms of how we got them and how good they were.
A lot of the actors, the thing that sold them for the movie, because they weren't being paid, they were getting promise of food, which we did feed them, but we didn't feed them the best a lot. It was a lot of fast food. It was a lot of, we did cater at times when we could, and we made things, but there wasn't that, great of food provided, and they would get a place to stay. Again, that could be someone's basement floor. It could be a couch. We did the best we could. But so in light of that, you can understand that we had to have something pretty convincing to make these grown adults with jobs and kids and families and all these things to juggle around to do this for us. And that was the script, going back to the writing.
I read through it and I was like, yes, this is something that's really neat and I want to be a part of, and we went from there.
It was unique right then and there, and actually after talking to Kenny and Adam, I was like, this sounds like it could be something really special.
First day of production, we went to St. Michael's School. Kenny's family is involved with that church and school.
I think everybody kind of on the first day was on their best behavior, I want to say, and was more running around and trying to get everything done and being as least sloppy as possible. But the first day was just kind of intimidating.
And there was a lot of excitement that this was the beginning of something that was going to be big.
First day was nerve-wracking and exciting, as a lot of Cheery Point was, and that was because Kenny and I had decided a couple weeks beforehand that we wanted to make all the flashbacks that we were going to show, which is a lot of the movie, told through one-take wonders, one shot for that entire scene. And so our first scene of the day was one of those flashbacks. The first scene of the entire movie was that flashback with the mayor and Albert, and the mayor is about to tear down the church, and there's construction going on in the background, and actually Kenny and I are playing extras.
It was partially a construction zone, and I have like a camera on a shoulder mount that I've like never used before, and I'm sitting in the bed of a truck being driven around this parking lot while like Kenny's pointing at things and telling me what's going to be going on action-wise.
You know, an interesting push because it opened our eyes to what was to lie ahead.
It wasn't the smoothest of days, you know, being the first day, that's understandable. But the kids are actually pretty cooperative.
The kids they had singing in the beginning, you know, which a lot of them have beautiful voices. It was like, okay, that's the way the song goes. Now, we're gonna do a very monotone and everything. I'm like, man, that really sounds horrible. It's supposed to be like that? And they're like, yes, because all these little kids were on tour packs.
It was pretty neat to see all these kids show up as extras around this flagpole, and there were probably about 15 to 20 kids, and you know, everyone is looking around, and I don't think anyone had directed that many extras at that point. You know, that was something. This is not a student film anymore. We're trying to get something done, and it has a point.
The thing that I was most surprised with was how good these children were with working with us. Essentially, I've worked with kids before, and these kids were good kids, and most of them were just excited to be on a movie set.
Everybody, what did we just do?
We shot a movie. Cheery Point.
Cheery Point. Hey, what movie does everybody need to see?
Cheery Point.
Why?
Because it's fun.
Great.
And we were in it. That's why. Because it's in it.
You could tell right then, from the first day I was on set, that, okay, they got a team. Things are getting done. You know what I mean? You roll the punches, things are gonna happen, retake, whatever, it'll get right.
It was chaotic, but also enlightening in the first day and exciting. It gave us, I think, the right momentum. It wasn't so easy that we felt lazy, but it was challenging enough to kind of get us going.
It was good. I think after the first day, which is a very long day, we kind of all, like, it was like blood family, like from day one. Just after that, like that night, we kind of brought everything back and sat down. We're just like, whoa, like I feel like I know everybody like extremely well right now.
When we were filming Cheery Point, we filmed a lot in Louisville, Kentucky, where our DP / executive producer lived, and we had the whole crew, all 27, almost 30 people, staying at his parents' house down in his basement.
That is the most memorable place to me, where we all as a crew and as actors stayed before we would go off on a set. Luckily, Kenny's house is pretty nice. He has a pretty cool basement. It's very spacious and big. And he's got this theater room where he has a lot of these comfy chairs where we would sleep on and stay. I always slept on a chair that reclined, and it was comfortable. I'm not complaining.
And I think one of the best descriptions for it was from Dale Finella, who described the basement where we all slept as a den of snoring, farting bears.
I'm pretty sure his parents had to pressure wash the downstairs by the time we were out of there. It smelled so bad. I remember like the third or fourth night I came back and like walked downstairs, and even as tired as I was, like the smell was so bad that I went around the house and found as many fans as I could and like made like a chain of fans to try to blow the smell out the door.
But it was just like a big family down there. I mean, we didn't really go upstairs. We only went upstairs when we needed something. We just stayed down there, got work done, had fun, and had a lot of late nights.
So I remember going to Walmart, Kelsey, the assistant director, and Sam, the second AD, at like 2 in the morning. And we're going down the aisles and we're just tired as hell. And Andrew and Adam and everyone else is back in my basement planning there. I get a call, I think it was at like 2 or maybe 1 or 2, I don't know what time it was. And Andrew just gives me this completely hysterical voice. He gives me this completely hysterical voicemail. Doesn't understand. I thought he was drugged out or he was drunk or something.
And I got a call or text from Kelsey Williams, our AD, and she was like, Mr. Stevenson said someone needs to put the dogs in the garage. So I read that text when I was exhausted, just got up wearily, just walked up, said, okay. I didn't know what was going on. I went outside, found the dogs, Kenny's huge dogs outside, grabbed them by the collars, brought them into the garage where Jake Madsen was sawing like a prop and there was sparks flying. It was the knife for the next day. He was using like some kind of tool and sparks were flying. I don't know. I was delirious. Couldn't have the dogs in there because that was an unsafe place for dogs, of course, because there's sparks flying. So I was like, okay, how can I creatively keep these dogs safe?
I walk into the home base room where all the computers were, and Andrew just looks at me and he goes, you know, I think I just got a call from Kenny that told me to put the dogs inside so they wouldn't be outside, but I'm so tired I might have dreamed it. I'm not 100% sure. And sure enough, I go in there and he's locked the dogs like this horrible middle section of like between the garage and the outside, and they're just like in there whimpering, and he's like, I don't know what to do. So he had to call Kenny.
I got a call from Kelsey telling me to get the damn dogs to the garage. And that's all I know. Okay, I didn't know if it was real. I didn't know if I was dreaming, and
it just was so funny that Andrew thought maybe he dreamed that he was supposed to lock the dogs in the garage, and we don't really know if he was ever told.
Vicki Sampson was nice enough to let us use her house. She was wonderful and just let us come in completely, and we cleaned out a lot of the stuff because it's a main character's house.
We walk in there, and then Kenny's like, I don't want anything religious, I don't want anything like flashy, I don't want any artwork, and you know, older people have a lot of things that they've collected through their lives, and they like displaying that because that reminds them of happy times, and I would too. I already do it. I'm old. But we had to take down so much stuff and like gut this house, and we took continuity pictures and put everything in the basement, but still, as the day went on, we shot a very, very long day.
Right, we're already an hour behind. Welcome to indie filmmaking.
And we have
Yeah.
And we have what, 15 scenes today?
15. There's a lot that are actually like interactive, that are.
Well, yeah. They're not all dialogue
Scenes, but they're like the same action, so it works out. There's a lot though. And we have a lot of exterior shots that we might have to wait until later to get, but yeah, we're gonna try to get all the exterior shots done.
I need to know that.
Yeah. We do a dialogue though too, so I know where I am. Okay.
Good
so he's gonna talk.
Very good question.
And all that.
Want me to move that triangle ball a little bit in there when you're raising it up on the stand? I'm just gonna go.
We're pretty good. Here's the finished knife, which we will see more of later.
Kenny gave Jake Madsen and I the mission of making like a fake prop knife to stab in the back while buying real butcher knives. So we're kind of like, okay. And we rigged this thing up with the knife that had 2 metal clamps, and then it was somehow duct taped to a towel, like a spare rag that we had, and we took a rope and like cut holes in the side of this metal rag makeshift thing to tie around him, but there was no way of getting it like extremely flush just because it's like a piece of metal that we cut. And I said, hey, is it okay if I duct tape this to your back? And he was working with Adam at the point in time, so he's like, yeah, go for it, like whatever. So start taping it down. Maybe got a little excited, maybe taped a little too much down, just wanted it to look good on camera. And we finished that scene, and then he takes off his shirt. It looked good on camera, everything worked out. But then it's like, oh, that's a lot of duct tape on your back. I mean, you could.
It's a fog machine.
We're good right there. Oh, baby, that feels so good.
It hurts.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize how much I love pain.
I'll let you go across.
Okay, that's a good one there.
Lower back, never did my next check. Okay.
Oh, shit.
That's almost gone.
Oh! Oh, shit!
It's like having a knife.
Do it!
Right? Am I right? No. I'm sorry. Oh, this is the way. I got it. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Oh.
Woo! What a trooper.
Hot damn!
All right. Okay, let's
Okay.
Got the bulb.
Cold rag.
All right, let's see the back. Let's see the
Almost
back.
yelled mother. Mama.
Oh my God. So, executive producer Kenny Stevenson, what do you think about the first week of filming?
First week of filming was interesting. It went really, really well. We got over probably
30 scenes filmed, 30 scenes in a matter of 4 days or so, something like that. Started on Wednesday, shot a bunch of stuff at St. Michael Church, St. Michael Parish. Shot at my house, a bunch of woodland shots. And then from there, went to Puzzles Fun Dome, shot a bunch of nursing and kids scenes to put in there. And now we're in Germantown, Louisville, filming some Cheery Point neighborhood shots. So first week of filming went really well. We're really tired. We want to kill each other. Cheery Point, stay tuned.
Here we are at the Tour-Pace Distribution Division, or the TDD. This is where the Tour-Pace is made. Let's go say hi.
One shoot we knew that was going to happen in Aurora, Illinois. Andrew, the associate producer's family, had a factory in Chicago, and we knew that we wanted to have a factory raid scene. That's where the Tour-Pace was going to be created.
You know, I asked my dad when there was a day on a weekend when it wasn't open if we could just use it. And my dad was there watching, and we came in and just used the entire plant, and there were cylinders and just all these machines, and we had someone come in and actually like run one.
Steel-Tech was easily one of the coolest places we shot at. It was, you walk in there, your mouth kind of drops, just like, we shouldn't be filming here. Like, this is, for one, I think everything's gonna hurt me, but just to be able to utilize a space like that while being just students in college, that was pretty outstanding. That was a really, really great location.
So, Kyle, it's your first day on set, huh?
That's right.
What are you thinking of these guys at this production?
Good shit. Insane set guy right here.
Okay.
And the scene is a scene where I come to with the mayor of Cheery Point, and he's kind of he's torturing this Springer in front of me, and kind of just kind of toying with me and the Springer. And it was the first time I'd worked with the guy, so there's kind of that awkward uneasiness.
I don't know if I'd actually got to say much more than hi to Kyle, but it was, you know, he was bringing his thing, and I was doing my thing, and it just turned out nice. The poor guy on the thing that was being tortured, you know, he looked like he'd been roughed up pretty good.
It was kind of like, Dale, we need a guy for the torture scene. He needs to be like somewhat, you know, middle-aged. And I was like, my dad can do it. And he's like having to jump off this table to make it seem like he's been dropped off the hook. So, I mean, he did his own stunts. I thought he did a good job.
We cut after like the third or fourth take, and I look, and there's just everyone piled around watching, and I'm like, oh, so that's happening.
Kenny came up to me and he was like, Andrew, we need lots of people to be in a raid. And I was like, okay, thinking, I have no idea how I'm gonna do this.
I was blown away. I couldn't believe that many people turned out. I mean, a lot of us kind of put our feelers out on social media and, you know, just calling people or emailing people. So that was really cool.
Extras everywhere. And all of these extras were these kids that were so excited to be a part of this. And then once they got their, you know, fake homemade bombs and fake guns, they got even more excited.
Trying to coordinate, you know, the extras in like 3 different groups and their paths they need to take in order to get to the point where they're going to blow up everything.
We got all these fake guns, and it was just a bunch of people dressed in black running around with fake guns. It's the best time ever.
And that was probably one of the more exciting, oh, we can't wait to get to the big factory scene and we all get to have guns and, you know, be badasses.
Tried acting like a badass a little bit, and then they were like, oh no, you're not supposed to know how to use a gun. I was like, oh, right. So, but it was cool. It was a lot of fun getting to run around the factory.
It made the scene more effective. It made it look like there was a legitimate raid scene going on, which I would say was one of the most proud moments I had in Cheery Point, is kind of sitting back from a distance and seeing all these people running into this factory.
I remember just walking in, watching that, and just sort of realizing this is a legit, real, big-time movie that I'm actually a part of. Like, everything was kind of piecing together in my head.
This is LEX 18 News at 6. A futuristic movie that features a population of drugged-out Americans with no emotions. That's one way to describe an independent movie, part of which was shot in Anderson County.
The movie set is a sprawling farmhouse, and the couple who lived there say it was one heck of a week.
Even though the factory was kind of like a personal pride moment for me in terms of how I felt about contributing, the whole shoot down in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky was kind of just the big one.
So I think without really talking about it, Adam and I sort of had this gentleman's agreement to have we're going to have this grandiose location in our back pockets, and we're not going to tell anybody too much about it.
Kenny Stevenson kind of made it seem like paradise. That was our last location, and they kept saying that like this is the best for last, like it's going to be absolutely crazy, and I think they were exactly like hit the nail on the head. It was just a gorgeous place.
And you just see this massive barn with cars everywhere, and then we pull in, there's this lake and this huge house on this rolling Kentucky hill with trees everywhere, and just, it was amazing.
As you can see, we're at a pretty epic location in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, so should be a good time. Well, there's one word that you need to understand when you think about shooting on the ranch. Markwell. The Markwells were the key for everything that transpired. They themselves are springers. They understand and appreciate life, and they understand that it's not about money. It's not about what you have in life. It's the people you share it with.
It was like you're asleep and you're immediately woken up into a war zone of someone going, help! And it was a very little sleep, very tumultuous, but every day everyone managed to pick each other up.
The barrier between crew and cast kind of just shattered after like day 2, because everybody was working that hard and everybody was that tired. Because of how pressed we were, you know, you had, like I said, you had crew guys doing extra work. You had cast members taping up stuff and setting up lights.
So it was like this weird like organism that just moved and existed and thrived probably when it shouldn't have. We all should have died, I feel, on Cheery Point.
I'm very, very impressed by everyone's ability to kind of get through all that. Although not without incident. I think everyone kind of did have a breaking point at one time. And the breaking point, strangely enough, was Becca's death scene.
And, you know, Adam came over to all of us, and it was just this really grandiose pep talk about really being in the moment and being in character and letting it affect us and just going for it. And I was like, hell yeah, let's go for it. And it ended up being a waiting around process, and then I couldn't cry. And I made Adam tell me the most horrific, heinous thing that I will never ever repeat to anyone, and then it was like floodgates.
Every hour of every day you're next to with these people, interacting with these people, working with them, and then seeing them like breaking down and crying, like filming that, being there filming that was just kind of like almost made you feel like really, really sad as well.
That was the most emotionally racking experience I've ever had. I was so glad we got to shoot the kind of dance party scenes that night in the house itself, because that was just a breath of fresh air from sitting out in the rain and having to go through watching somebody commit suicide.
When we got in there, we got all these people, and the Markwells were nice enough to like recruit for us, and we had a room full of people, and there was just music playing, and Adam kind of let me, I don't know, he gave me a chance to kind of boss people around, and so I just got to tell people to dance and like get them in the mood and stuff. It was really, really fun.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. William Shakespeare proudly presents Epic Dance Parties, sponsored by Captain Morgan.
I come up with this William Shakespeare character, and it became this like stupid thing where we'd always be like, he's like always presenting something. He's like,
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sherlock Holmes. Tonight we present Epic Meals in American History. Tonight it's a Markwell Ranch. Choose the dog and I will eat every scrap left and fight over the last. I woke up Now watch as we spurt forth with both the lamb chops and the chicken. Without further ado, I present the Cheery Point dancers.
There we go.
So there's a scene where I'm being weaned off of the tour pace.
And that was one with the candles everywhere. It was almost like a sweat lodge atmosphere.
They went through and made all these videos for safety, like stunt safety, about how to slap someone and everything. And then come time to do our scene, and I think it was probably the second take, if I recall correctly, he just hauled off and smacked me in the face as hard as he could. So it was very easy to act like that hurt, because it did.
To this day, he reminds me on Facebook of slapping him.
So what do you think of Bennett's driving skills?
Well, I think he's going to send some direction down first, and then we'll talk about driving.
I was put in charge and had the responsibility of operating the Gator, or four-wheeler, on this. It was owned by the Markwells, and I used it to get actors and resources from one place to the next. And people, I think, enjoyed my Gator rides sometimes. Sometimes they were scary, went over some big bumps, but we had some fun on the Gator.
I was in the very back, and we were driving, and I was recording at the same time, just getting the scenery and everything, since it was so nice out there. And we were driving up this little gravel road, and well, he said it was like a bump coming, but I really wasn't paying attention. And then we hit the bump. I like went airborne in the back. I thought I was about to fall out of it.
Yeah, I'm good. I told you it was going to be bumpy. I told you, Tony.
The Gator with Andrew driving and almost getting killed almost every time, that was pretty memorable. Andrew should just not drive anything. A truck, a Gator, you know, nothing.
My associate producer runs a truck through their fence and breaks it.
Right into the fence, right through it, and he froze. He was just, I wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. And I went down there, made sure he was okay, and exactly that same time, Denny comes driving up home. And I just looked at him and I went, oh my gosh. And then when I said that, Andrew was like, oh, like he ran over their dog or something.
They came in, they destroyed my house, but they put it back together.
As they were prepping the dock for me to go out and sit on, they had a big picnic table and benches out on the deck, and Kenny.
You guys sure you want the picnic table there? There's no turn back. We start walking on this really skinny, like, bridge to get back to the land, while carrying something that obviously is extremely heavy, because we needed 4 guys to carry it, and it was still really heavy. So we make it like 6 feet onto the little narrow bridge.
And I fall through the dock and just, I kind of impaled my leg a little bit. I mean, there were a lot of trying moments.
And I remember talking to Joan, and she was just like, I've never in my life had anything like this happen to me. This is an experience I'm never gonna forget. That fence, it's going to be fixed. That dock, it's going to be fixed eventually. These things that are broken are going to be fixed. But this experience is gonna last with me forever, and I'm never gonna forget it. I'm never gonna forget you guys.
I don't think we will ever have a cast that is tight-knit as that, because when you go through that, and the experiences we had at that ranch, you form a bond, a common purpose, and you're dealing with crap every day.
But I had a great time. I now look at it like I was having a blast. Like it was the greatest time of my whole life. But at the time, oh, it was a real pain.
That was the most exhausting and crazy and amazing week of my life, probably.
What happened down in Lawrenceburg was life. It was the good, the bad, and the ugly, all put into one, and in the end we came out with something great.
That's a wrap. Woo!
Post-production, especially with a budding production studio, is very difficult. You don't have a lot of resources and people to work with. But that last segment of getting it out there, I mean, no one had trained. You don't learn how to make a digital cinema package for a theater in school. Sadly, they decide that's not important. So, I mean, and I mean, Ball State's not a film school, but aside that, the DCP process, learning what a theater needs to get a screening done, learning how to deliver content on a hard drive in a certain format, in a certain way, to format the movie itself as a cinema package. And then when you add on the color grading and the sound and the score that Blake did a wonderful job with, when we finally got done, we only had like a week to get it to the theater in time.
I just kept asking Kenny, like, hey, Kenny, when's the movie coming? And we should probably get starting to work on it. Hey, when do you want to release this thing? Like, I've got some musical ideas. And all of a sudden he calls me up one day. He's like, hey, Blake, so here's the deal. I want to release the movie in 5 weeks. I'll send you the mostly final cut tomorrow. I just remember, like, the initial shock was like, whoa, this is going to be quite the undertaking. And I pretty much spent the next 4 weeks straight working on it 8 to 10 hours a day while also juggling school and, the band and everything. The post experience was wild, and it was a lot of I've been calling it like adrenaline-based scoring, where I would just come up with an idea and I wouldn't even stop to think about whether it was like good or not. I would just go with it. The very last like 10 minutes of the film are probably my favorite, because it's just like this really big emotional piece, and I really played with the dynamics and like how it builds up, and it's sort of reminiscent of all the other themes. And that's probably my favorite piece of music because I finally got sort of ahead of the schedule Kenny and I had set, and I had plenty of time to work on that one. But I got to the last 20 minutes of the film, and I literally just sat down, and I'd never seen the last 20 minutes. I had all the themes in my head. I just sat down at the keyboard and just played it through, just guessing for 20 minutes, and what I played was pretty much what you hear on the piano. I just waited for characters to show up. I was like, okay, I want this theme here, and I just, I just transposed them and put them all in the same key, and it ran together really, really well. And that was kind of like, I don't know, that was really cool because I realized I had built a very solid musical idea for the movie that I could play off of then in the last like 20 minutes like that.
I was amazed that after all this work with the visual effects, the color grading, by the way, I think there were close to 600 visual effect shots in Cheery Point, just covering things up, rotoscoping them out, taking them out.
Lots of rotoscoping, which is cutting out video elements so that they can overlap each other when, in most cases, unless using a green screen, there's no way to do it automatically, so you just have to go through every frame and just snip around the area you need to keep. And there are various ways to go about it, but it was just lots and lots of click next frame, adjust, click next frame, adjust, and on and on.
I knew what I could get away with. So when I shot things, and there was a Kroger sign in the background, or there was, different signage that needed to be taken out. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to shoot this, knowing that I'm going to have to spend 3 hours in post-production fixing this. So it was a self-afflicting position.
The Mustang logo on Ethan's car came up quite a bit, and replacing, tour-paste distribution division on various trucks and moving vans or whatever. But then it was all worth it once we get to the factory scene and get to blow things up and have more fun with it.
So John was in Chicago, and he was posting papers all over Columbia, getting random students to come in and do narration, voiceover work for the film.
When John Meskey and I went to record a lot of the voiceovers for Cheery Point, the tour pace indicator is actually played by William Shakespeare.
Your injection is invalid. Please try again.
One of the proudest moments of my life was the first exclusive screening of Cheery Point. It was in Louisville, Kentucky. It was such a rush to get it there in the first place that I hadn't really taken time to prep myself to understand what was happening.
People speak in hushed tones that Kenny might be getting close to having a cut that we can actually see, and everyone's kind of, oh, is it coming yet? Oh, is it? And then, we finally all get to go see each other again, and it's, as if no time had passed, and just get together and watch a movie like it's any, actual movie.
we got to sneak in with Kenny the night before and watch the first, I think, 3 minutes of the film. And I'm getting goosebumps just remembering what that was like to walk into that theater, and it was all dark. And I think Kyle turned to me and he said, just imagine, he said, in about 12 hours, every single one of these seats is going to be filled, and they're all going to be looking at us up on that screen.
It was fun to get together with the cast and crew again, to see the people you hadn't seen in a couple of months. That in itself was probably one of the biggest draws to it.
It was literally like a week had passed as opposed to, God, 4 or 5 months. And it shows a lot about the cast and crew. Like, it was just, everyone was just like, oh, hey, how you doing? And then we were good friends again.
A lot of people. It was a sold-out house. And I think the anticipation from everybody was just building, because everybody knew it was something special and they wanted to see it. They couldn't wait to see it.
It's pretty cool when you see like your name, the name of your project on the marquee at a place, and you're like, yeah, forget Argo. I'm gonna go see Cheery Point.
Just before the movie started, all the posters on the stage and all of us going down there being asked to sign the posters that were going to be used for souvenirs or sales and such. You know, for something I never dreamt of being an actor. And to suddenly, you know, be treated as somebody whose autograph on a poster means something. That was a big moment in my life.
We got to see all of our hard work up there, and like everything comes rushing back, all of the memories of doing each of those different scenes.
I knew this was gonna happen, that there were so many things, not half, but near half of the movie was kind of like, oh, wow, like I forgot all about that.
The thing that really got me was the fact that we got a standing ovation at the end. Like, I still try to like wrap my head around that sometimes. Like, just, I was like, wow.
Nearly everybody was there. I mean, they were signing posters, you know, addressing everybody and letting them know what the future was. And it was a special moment. And it's not one I don't think will ever happen again in the same way.
Like, I hope you enjoy this. This is why we wrecked your house, and this is why we kept you up till 5 in the morning, and this is why you have a heat stroke, and this is why you have bruises on your hands. This is why. And everyone I think watched it and went, that's a pretty good reason why.
I think Cheery Point, for the people who made it, is definitely a film about doing things you aren't supposed to be able to do. You know, I think about everybody told Kenny he couldn't shoot a feature length, so he did it anyway. Everybody told Kenny he was in college, he couldn't shoot a feature length, so he did it anyway. You know, everybody told us that we wouldn't be able to assemble a crew who would shoot a feature length in college, but we did it anyway. You know, everyone said there's no way you're gonna be able to score a movie in 4 weeks, and I did it anyway. And like, that is really cool. And regardless of what Cheery Point does now after it's finished, I think the fact that it's worth that much to me, and I know everybody else in the crew feels the same way, is probably the most important part about the film.
The heart was there, and it was tested, and it still held. So it was a crazy experience.
You didn't want to be the person who dropped the ball. And if you have a bunch of people who care about a project as much as we did, and nobody wants to fail, and nobody's going to give up, then we're going to get exactly what we were looking for. And I think we did.
So many people involved from all over the place, from Chicago and Indiana and Kentucky, and who knows where, all just magically coming together because of Kenny's crazy Steve Jobs-esque reality distortion field.
Learned from Cheery Point that I hope everyone else did was that we are all capable of these really big things, this huge project, and are capable of more than what we thought.
We were all so driven to create the film, especially by Kenny and Adam and Andrew. When you've got somebody pushing it so hard with a vision in their head, it makes everybody else believe it too.
You know, it ended up being, you know, an unforgettable set experience. I don't know if that I'll ever experience another set like it. There was always an energy to it that, you know, we wanted to get stuff done.
That week was probably one of the most fun of my entire life. And yeah, it was really hard, and we didn't get any sleep, and we got really crabby with each other at times, but it was really cool to be working with that many people that took their line of work so seriously.
It almost felt like, you know, it was a bunch of friends just shooting a film. It didn't even feel like a film set. And that was awesome. because it was just, we all just kind of had to kind of grab each other by the arms and just kind of push each other through the shoot. And it definitely added to how awesome the shoot was.
It was very tiresome, but it was such a rewarding thing, and I knew that I was around people who really wanted to do this, because at the end of every day, I felt like I just got paid big time to be doing, like, the feeling of just you're doing exactly what you want to be. And there's nothing better than that, really.